But today, friends, I want to talk about something super crucial that I think is really the hardcore heart behind what it means to be a leader. And now, when I say a leader, I don't mean maybe you're the boss of a company. I do not mean that you're the boss of an organization or you run some kind of business or you're the pastor of a church. Honestly, being a leader, I think, is something that will benefit every single one of us. There's going to be a time in your life where you may not be the leader, but you can be a leader. You can influence those around you. Because here's the reality, and we're going to reference this many times today, that being a leader is not having a position. That being a leader is living a life that's worth following. If you're a leader, if you will lead by example, there will be people that will follow you. It doesn't matter what position you have. It doesn't matter if you're not the boss. People will follow you because you live a life that's worth leading. And I want to encourage you, today's talk is going to be beneficial for every single person that's here, whether you're a parent, whether you're still in high school, whether you're a business owner, whether you're someone that honestly is still trying to figure out where you're going in life. I want to encourage you, today's leadership discussion will be a blessing to you. And I want you to remember this premise right here, that when it comes to being a leader, understanding this is crucial. That the best leaders make even better followers. I want to say that again. That the best leaders make even better followers. There's one key word. If we could pick a word of the day that I want you to remember, and it's this: submission. That leadership stems from being a great follower, and you cannot be a great follower without understanding submission, without understanding what it means to follow authority, without understanding what it means to submit to a leader that may be above you. Because before you'll ever be a great leader, you need to first be an incredible follower. And I've got some principles, 4 different principles under this topic of being a great follower that I promise you will be detrimental to your ability to be a good leader. If you're looking onto the notes with me, I want to encourage you. Point number 1 is a simple principle, simple but life-changing, is that you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. If you're not familiar with Bible terminology, that's okay. You don't need to be a Christian to watch this. Or hope you're doing absolutely amazing. Thought Gecko got those notes for you, my friend. And I want to encourage you. This principle, really what it means is that what you give out, you will eventually get back. In the Bible, this is referenced in terms of you reap what you sow, that whatever you plant. So, right, if I'm a farmer and I've got a bag of, apple tree seeds, whatever it may be, and I'm planting apple tree seeds, what's going to grow? The thing that's going to grow is the thing that I planted. And here's the reality, that if you are planting apple trees, you're going to get apple trees. You're going to get apple trees. You can't expect to plant apple tree seeds and get like a banana tree. It's just not going to happen. And there's a quote in this principle that understands the principle of leadership requires being a great follower, is this quote right here from a man by the name of Bishop T.D. Jakes. He says, "You cannot sow disrespect and reap honor." Isn't it so often that times what we want to do is that when we are a follower, that we want to disrespect our leaders, disrespect those that are in authority above us, but then when we finally step into a place of leadership, that we expect everyone to just respect us. And here's the reality. I'll say it again. It's in the notes written for you. You cannot sow disrespect and reap honor. You can't go through your life as a follower disrespecting everyone around you, disrespecting all the leaders that are above you, and expect that when you're in a leadership position, that everyone will respect you. Because what you plant will grow. What you give out will come back on you. And I want you to remember this, that if you are a follower who disrespects their leader, you will eventually become a leader who is disrespected by their followers. It's that principle that what you give out comes back on you. That there are consequences for your actions. You reap what you sow. That if today you are a follower who disrespects their leader, that you will eventually become a leader who is disrespected by their followers. And this is crucial. This idea of submission that we're going to keep talking about today. I honestly believe that it's the key. It's the foundation. If we don't know how to be a great follower, we can never be a great leader. Here's a tip I've got written for you in the notes, is that understanding that simply that submission requires you to understand this, that submitting not simply because you agree with the decision of your leader. That your leader might make a decision that you might not necessarily agree with, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but don't submit simply because you agree with your leader, but submit because it's a direct correlation of your own character. Because your ability to disagree, your ability to agree to disagree shows your own integrity and your own character. I want to ask you, are you the kind of follower that maybe when your boss, maybe when someone in authority above you makes the decision, maybe calls a direction that maybe you don't agree with, are you the kind of follower that's going to submit to that in a respectful manner? You might not agree. You might be able to say, well, I would like to see things done differently, but you know what? I'm going to submit to the authority that's been placed above me, and I'm gonna follow the vision, and I'm gonna go towards it. Or are you the kind of guy that's gonna be in the break room being like, man, can you believe that the boss said that? I can't believe he's making us do this crap, man. I mean, someone needs to replace this guy. Which follower are you gonna be? Because remember, you reap what you sow. That what you give out will come back on you. And you need to ask yourself that when I finally become a leader, what's going to be coming back on me? That you cannot be in the break room planting seeds of disrespect, then being in the boss's chair later down the road and be reaping honor. That if you're the kind of follower that's in the break room disrespecting the decisions of the leader, then when it comes time for you to sit in the chair of leadership, your followers are going to be in the break room disrespecting you. And this is a crucial principle, that you reap what you sow. That what you give out comes back onto you. And understanding this, that your ability to submit has very little to do with the leader's decision. It has very little to do with the fact that you agree or disagree with the leader's decision. Submitting has everything to do with directly correlating to your own character. Do you know how to properly agree to disagree? Do you know how to properly say, you know what, boss? You know what? I might have a different opinion, but I've got your back. I've got your back. Because if you have your leader's back, when you become the leader, your followers will have your back. One little last tip that I want to give you is, maybe if you're in the stage right now where you're the follower, you're not the boss, you're not the one calling the shots, can I encourage you to show grace to your leader? They need you to have their back. Give room for your leaders to make mistakes. Hey, as a pastor of God Squad Church, I make mistakes all the time. But I'm humble enough to admit that, guys, we're going to try something here. And you know what? If it flops, I take full responsibility for it. But we're going to take a chance. We're going to take a risk. We're going to trust God. And I'm going to lead us in the direction that I really think that we need to go. But there's going to be moments when I or your leader, we're going to make mistakes. And understanding that your leader's a human, that they're doing their best, and that understanding that when you become the leader, you're also going to make mistakes, and you're going to want your followers to have shown grace to you. Remember, again, you reap what you sow. If you show grace to your leader when they fall, your followers will show grace to you when you lead. Point number 2, it's a big one. We touched on it a little bit, but submitting when you don't agree. What do you do when your leader makes a decision that you're just not on board with, dude? When maybe the guy you work for, the person that's leading your team, or whatever it may be, they're making a shot, you just do not agree with it. Here's what I'd say to you. Just because you don't respect the person, because I'll be honest, I've worked for people in the past that I'm like, you are a horrible human being. You are rude, arrogant, you don't think that you can make mistakes, and you think that you know everyone better than everyone else, and you do not view your employees as people. You view them as simple task doers. And if they don't get the task done, they're out. You don't care if they're not going to have money to feed their kids anymore. You just don't care. I've worked for people like that. I have. And here's the reality, that when it comes to following their leadership, you don't need to respect, just because you don't respect or have high opinion. I'm not talking about you don't need to respect, be kind and loving towards them. I'm talking about you might not respect them as a person, in the sense that you're like, yeah, I can't agree with the way that you treat people. If I didn't work for you, probably wouldn't be your friend. I'm talking about that. Just because you don't agree or respect the person doesn't mean you can't respect the position. Because here's the reality, that they're an authority above you. And that might make a decision that you don't agree with, but understanding that God has you in this season of life to where you're under their leadership. And God's calling you to submit to that. Again, understanding your ability to submit is not a direct correlation of your abilities your leader's ability to lead. It's a direct correlation of your own character. Your leader might have a terrible ability to lead. Your leader might be a terrible leader. But just because you have a terrible leader doesn't mean you can't be a great follower. Just because you have a terrible leader doesn't mean you can't be a great follower. Remember this, it's our premise for today, that the best leaders make even better followers. That if you want to be an incredible leader one day, be an incredible follower today. Because you got to understand this, you're in a season right now. You might not be the one calling the shots. You might not be the leader. But you're in a season of following. You're in a season where God's preparing you. God's preparing you for that next step. And when you step into the season of being in charge, then you'll be able to make your own calls. Then you'll be able to do things that you think are right. But for this season, God has put you under whoever's authority. God's put you under their authority, and your ability to submit to them is your ability to submit to God and saying, God, you put me here, that you're the God who gives and takes away. Therefore, God, I'm going to honor you by the way that I respectfully agree to disagree and submit to my leader. Because can I tell you that your ability to agree to disagree, it's a true correlation of your own character. It is. And there'll be times where it may come time for you to realize, hey, leader, I just can't follow you anymore. You're doing things that I believe to be immoral. You're doing things that you're asking me to go against my own belief in God, and I just can't do that. There may be times where it's time to call it quits, whether it's joining a different team, whether it's quitting your job and going somewhere else. There are times where leadership is so poor that it is the right call to move. If I encourage you, if you're going to do that, make sure you're praying about it. Make sure you're praying about it. And then here's a tip. Make sure God's leading you. Here's a tip that I want to encourage you to do. It's written in the notes if you're not following along. It says, if you need to leave a certain job or situation because of your leader, make sure you leave with integrity. Leave in such a way, you may not be able to follow your leader any longer. They may just be way off the rails. But your ability to lead, again, your ability to leave a situation is not about how good your leader is. It's about how good of a follower you are. Because you can leave in one of two ways. You can leave with integrity. You can leave in a way that you showed so much character that even after you put your 2 weeks in, they're not going to be 2 weeks where you're being lackadaisical. Well, I'm out of here in 2 weeks anyway. I don't even care if I get the job done. What's they got to do? Fire me? I already quit anyway. Don't leave with that kind of attitude. Leave with character. Leave in a way that when you walk out the door the last time after those 2 weeks or in the team, whatever it may be, that the rest of your team says, man, we're going to be a miss without that person. I don't know how we're going to find someone else like that. I mean, they were respectful. They were submissive. They were bought into the vision. They were kind. They treated others with integrity. I don't know how we're going to find another one of those. Or are you going to be the person that leaves and everyone says, man, good riddance. I'm glad they're finally out of here. Man, they were such a pain to have around. Which kind of follower are you going to be? Because I'm going to tell you that even in your leaving, I want you to remember this, that even in your leaving, you are still leading. I'm going to say it again. Even in your leaving, you are still leading. What do I mean by that? That I want you, if you have to leave a certain situation, I want you to lead others and show them what it looks like to leave with integrity. I want you to show them, hey, I don't have to follow this leader anymore. He's doing things that are immoral. He's just way off the rail. I can't submit to this authority anymore. God's spoken to me, and I got to get out of this thing. But I'm going to show others in my process of leaving, I'm going to show them what it looks like to leave with integrity. I'm not going to be the kind of guy that's in the back break room, man. I've only got a week left before I'm out of this guy's hair, man. I can't stand my boss. I don't want, guys, I encourage you, you're better than this. You have potential to change the world. Can I challenge you? If you need to leave a leader, leave with integrity. I don't want to see any of this, man, well, if I was the boss, I would do this. Can I love you enough to say this? You have no idea what it's like to be the boss. If you're the kind of follower that says, man, well, if I was the boss, I would do this. Can I tell you, you don't know the pressure that it takes to be your boss. You don't know the responsibility. You don't know the expectations that your boss has. You have no idea what it's like to have many, many people scrutinizing every single decision that the leader believes is right. If you've never been in that position, you just have no idea what it's like. So can I love you enough to say this, that if you're the one saying that, oh, well, if I was the leader, if you're the one that continues to be disrespectful to your leader and saying, well, if I was the boss, then God will do his best to make sure that you never become the boss, because you reap what you sow. And can I encourage you that God opposes the proud, but he gives favor to the humble. There may be disagreements that you have with your leaders, but your ability to be a great leader will be determined by your ability to be an even better follower. That God opposes the proud. Those that are like, man, if I was a leader, I'd be doing it so much better. You have no idea what it's like to sit in your boss's shoes. And you will never understand until you sit in his chair. But God opposes the proud, but he lifts up the humble. If you're humble enough to say, you know what? In this season, I'm not the leader. In this season, I'm a follower, which means, yeah, I don't agree with that decision, but I'm not going to backtalk my leader. I'm not going to get other people to be against him. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to agree to disagree, and I'm going to submit. I'm going to be humble enough to say, you know what? I don't really know why he made that decision. And if I was in that decision, I might make a different one, but I can't even say for sure because I've never been in his shoes. That's the kind of people that God lifts up. The Bible says, I got the verse right there, James 4:6 in the notes if you're following along, that God opposes the proud, but he shows favor to the humble. And if you're looking for God to do you a favor by giving you favor and lifting you up to that promotion, to that next leadership position, getting a raise, a promotion at your job, whatever it may be, and you're asking God, will you lift me up? You need to ask yourself, am I being proud in this situation? Am I being prideful, or am I being humble? Because your ability to answer that question will be your ability to know what God's answer will be. Your answer to that question will determine God's answer to his question of, God, will you lift me up? God opposes the proud, but he shows favor to the humble. Your ability to be a great leader is directly correlated to your ability to be an even better follower. There may be times where you've disrespected your leader. Can I encourage you that there have been times that I have too? But understanding that we need to step back and be humble and say, God, you know what? It was wrong of me to do that. It was raw. I should not have said that. Should not have done that to my leader. God, I'm sorry. I repent and apologize to your leader. Apologize to your leader. I'll be honest. It was a time in my life when I was under a leader who was doing some things that I didn't agree with. They weren't immoral, but they were things that I didn't agree with, and I went way out of line. I'm talking, some of you might be surprised that I would ever even do this. I was a different person back then. Went out of a line where I pulled our entire team together for a secret meeting to try and overthrow the leader. I didn't want to be the leader myself, but I wanted to get rid of them. Outrageously out of place, inexcusable, disrespectful, showed that I had no ability to follow, which at that time meant that I had no right to lead. Absolutely inexcusable. And I had to go to my leader and I had to let God deal with me and say, Pastor Susie, that was way out of line. There is no excuse for doing that. Wrong. And I had to go to my leader and apologize to them deeply and sincerely. And even till this day, I still can't believe I did that. But I understand that God opposes the proud. God was not proud of me in that moment. Not. God opposed that moment. But he shows favor to the humble. But I want to encourage you this. I say this all the time. It's not about what you've done. It's about what are you going to do next. He shows grace, favor to the humble. If you're willing to turn from your ways of being a disrespectful follower, God can turn you into a great leader. 2 last points I want to encourage you about being an incredible follower, which can turn you into an even better leader. Some people this might relate to some of us. You might really understand what I'm talking about. Point number 3, it says your position in one place doesn't give you that position everywhere you go. Some of you today, you might be in a position of leadership. You might be a leader at your youth group. You might be a business owner. You might be a manager. You might be the pastor of your own church. You might be the leader, the captain of your football team. You might be the captain of your own esports team, whatever it may be. But just because you have a special position in one area, just because you're the leader in one area, doesn't mean that you're a leader in every area of your life. What I mean by that is that you ever met someone who maybe they've got a high position in a certain area of their life, maybe at work they're the boss, youth group they're the youth leader, whatever it may be, and then they're in a different scenario of life. They're at a friend's house, and now they're treating their friends like that they're a leader over them. Like, bro, we're not at church. You're not my leader, dude. I'm not a teenager. Especially, I've seen this happen with the youth leaders, young adults, and they'll hang out with their other young adult friends, and they'll start telling their friends what to do, that they're the teenagers at church. And it's bro, you realize I'm not a teenager, right? And I'm I don't work for you. And can I tell you that even though you might be a leader in one area of your life, doesn't mean that you can act like you're the leader in every area of your life. I'll tell you one thing that I started doing recently, which I'm super humbled and excited to be able to do, is I started playing drums at a local church I attend on Sunday mornings. I am outrageously humbled and privileged to be in the position that I am. I am so grateful that God has, for some reason, chosen me to be the leader and the pastor of God Squad Church. I still to this day am humbled that people would get behind our vision. I am so humbled that I have an amazing team that is behind me, that supports me. I'm so grateful for every single one of you that follows the leading that I give through the vision that God gives me through this entire ministry. I'm so outrageously humbled. When I sit in this chair, I am the leader. I am the pastor of God Squad Church. God has appointed me in that position. But when I go play drums at my church on Sunday morning, I can't walk in with that attitude that, hey, I'm the leader, that I'm the pastor. But Pastor Susie, you got thousands of followers, man. You got 80 people that are listening to your leadership advice. That doesn't matter. But Pastor Susie, you've been invited to preach all over the world. That doesn't matter. Pastor Susie, you've been on the largest Christian radio station. That doesn't matter. When I step out of this chair and into another position, I am under that leader's authority. So when I go to play drums on a Sunday morning, the music director, Thomas, he's calling the shots. I'm just another guy on the drums. Pastor Susie, who? Who cares? I'm just another guy in the drum set, which means I'm going to ask questions like, hey, was there anything you wanted me to change with my drumming style right there to better fit your vision, to better fit how you wanted the music to go? Because the best leaders make even better followers. So I understand that although when I sit in this chair, that I'm the leader, when I sit in that drum chair, I'm just a follower. And let me tell you this, and I want you to remember this. If I don't have the integrity to follow when I sit in that chair, then I don't have the right to lead when I sit in this one. If you're in a position of leadership, and you're a leader in that case, but you don't know what it's like to follow in other leaders, then you don't deserve the right to sit in your chair. If I don't have the integrity to follow when I sit in that chair, then I don't have the right to sit and lead in this chair. Because when I'm not in this chair, when I'm not everybody's boss. How dare I have an ego so high that because of what we've accomplished in the online community gives me the right to tell other people what to do when it has nothing to do with our church? How dare I walk into another scenario and be like, bro, I'm Pastor Susie. You should let me play drums this Sunday. Okay, the leader's going to schedule me whenever he wants. The leader's going to schedule me as often as he wants because he's in charge. And I'm going to listen to his authority. Why? Because I'm going to submit. Because his ability to lead has nothing to do with my ability to follow. My ability to follow has everything to do with my own integrity. That he's gonna put me on as frequently as he wants. He's going to tell me what songs to play, and I'm going to play them the way that he wants them to be played. Why? Because he's the leader. And if I can't do that, then he has every right to say, Susie, you ain't allowed to play the drums. And I'm going to have to get over it. Your ability to be a great leader is directly correlated with your ability to be a follower. And just because you might be a leader in one position of your life, doesn't mean that you're the leader everywhere else you go. Your friends are not your employees. Your family is not people that serve under your leadership. They're your family. There might be some places where you're a leader, and there's other places where you're a follower. And again, if you don't have the integrity to follow when you're sitting in that chair, then you don't have the right to lead when you're sitting in your own chair. And my ability to lead in this chair right here, this DX Racer, is correlated to my ability to follow everywhere else in the world. Once the headset comes off and I go somewhere else, my ability to follow them determines how good of a leader I am in this chair. But just because in other areas that you go, point number 4, if you're looking at the notes, just because you go somewhere else where you're not the leader, you're not the one in charge, just because you're not the leader, doesn't mean you can't be a leader. And this is crucial. This is crucial because even though you might not be the one calling the shots, you might not be the one that's holding the final say, you still have the ability to lead by example. Because remember, leadership is not about having a title. Leadership is about having a life that's worth following. Yo, Mr. Big, God bless, man. Absolutely incredible to have you stream. Even if you don't believe in God, we're glad to have you here, man. God bless you. Appreciate you being here. Hope you do well today. And it's the truth that leadership is not about a title. So, for example, when I go sit on the drum set on a Sunday morning, I'm not the music director. I'm not the worship leader. I'm not the one picking the songs. I'm not the one calling the shots. I'm not the boss. But just because I'm not the leader doesn't mean that I can't be a leader. That doesn't mean that I can't carry myself in a way of integrity. That doesn't mean that I can't carry myself in a way of honor that other people will look and say, you know what, that guy's life is a life worth following. You can show the people around you. You can show your fellow classmates, people in your youth group, people in the Discord, your coworkers. You can show them what it looks like to be a humble follower. You can lead by example by the way you respect your boss, by the way that you avoid gossiping in the break room. When your friends say, man, I can't believe my leader made this decision. Yeah, man, I'd rather stay out of those conversations, man. I want to choose to follow my leader even when I don't agree, because when I'm the leader, I want people to follow me. Oh, well, dang. Oh, all right, I respect that. It's going to speak volumes to your coworkers. You can still choose to be the kind of leader that you want to represent yourself with other people, even if you're not the leader. So although when I step out of this chair and I go other places in life, yeah, I'm not those people's boss. They don't have to listen to what I say. But just because I'm not the leader doesn't mean I can't be a leader. Doesn't mean I can't carry myself with integrity, be respectful, be kind, submitting to other people's authority. And just because you're not the leader doesn't mean you can't be a leader. I only give you one tip, that understanding this principle, being a great follower, may be the very thing that ends up getting you a promotion into becoming the leader. Because your leaders are watching. Who's respectful? Who's kind? Who has the ability to follow? And if you are without any kind of title being a leader, then you might turn into a leader who does have a title. You might get that promotion. You might get that position where people are lifting you up. But remember, the greatest leaders make even better followers. I want to end our time asking you a few application questions. I'll give you that link in the chat one more time if you haven't already. These application questions, I think, will really, really take this home for you. So much so that I actually would like to put them on the screen for everybody to see. Because I think that these will really, really, really help make sense of all this and definitely be a big blessing to you. I'll put them on the screen real quick. Check it out. Some application questions for you to walk away with and really think on hard and pray hard as you understand this topic of being a great follower. Check it out real quick. Application questions. If I could fast forward to becoming a leader, if you could just fast forward yourself 5 years from getting out of your season of being a follower and into your season of being a leader, if I could fast forward to becoming a leader, what would I be reaping then that I'm sowing now? So remember, we talked about this principle. You reap what you sow, that whatever you're giving out is whatever you're going to take in. So I want you to fast forward from your life right now and say, okay, what am I sowing? Am I sowing disrespect? Ask yourself, if I'm sowing disrespect now, what am I going to reap later? I want you to fast forward yourself. Close your eyes. Put yourself in this position. If I could fast forward to becoming a leader, what would I be getting back now that I gave out? What would I be getting back then that I'm actually giving out now? What would I be reaping then that I'm sowing now? Some real deep questions that I want to encourage you to ask yourself. Question number 2, if I was the leader, would I want a follower like me under my own leadership? Ask yourself, If you were the leader, would you want you to be following you? Would you be able to honestly say about yourself, man, if I was the leader, man, I would be honored to have a follower who can follow the way that I do, because I'm respectful, because I'm kind, because I submit even when I don't agree, because I'm able to agree to disagree? Or would you say, man, if I'll be honest, if I was the boss, I would probably fire myself. If I was the boss, I would probably say, man, you've got some things to work on, and if you don't, we might have to think about repositioning you, demoting you, or getting rid of you altogether. We've got to be honest with ourselves. This is how we grow. We ask ourselves the questions that we don't want to ask ourselves, because sometimes we get the answers that we don't want to give ourselves. And I want to ask you, if you were the leader, would you want a follower like yourself under your leadership? Question number 3, what are ways that I can be more respectful, submissive to my leader? So I want to encourage you to really dissect your ability to follow, see the areas of weakness, and then areas to grow. When you analyze your own flaws, I don't want you to see them as weakness. I don't want you to see them as failures. I want you to see them as opportunities for growth. Hey, here's an opportunity for growth that I can do. To be honest, I talk bad about my leader when he makes a decision I don't agree with. You know what that is? It's a flaw, but it's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to grow. That means, hey, you know what? I talk bad about my leader in the break room, but you know what I can do? I can start respecting him, and I can actually build a culture of getting my other coworkers to respect our leader as well. I can say things to them when they're like, man, I can't believe he made that call. I'd be like, hey, you know what, dude? I'm just going to choose to respect my boss, because when I'm the boss, I want people to respect me. And honestly, I want to cut him some slack, but because we can tell ourselves all day long that we know what it's like to be him, but we don't. We don't know what it's like to sit at the top. We don't know that sometimes it's lonely at the top. We don't understand that all the eyes are pointing at him and scrutinize every decision he makes. You know what? I'm going to cut him some slack, man, because when I'm in his shoes, I hope that people cut me some slack, because I'm going to make the wrong call every now and then, because I'm going to make mistakes. You can develop that culture. What are some areas that you can be more respectful, submissive to your leader? Last question that I really want you to focus your time around. Is God proud of my ability to follow? Is God proud of my ability to follow? There's one scene from the Bible, an amazing story, true story, that I want to share with you. David is standing outside of a cave, and King Saul, who honestly was kind of a crazy leader. He was kind of crazy, made some bad calls. And David had already been promised of God that when Saul died, that David would be the king. That when his time was done, that David would be the king. So we've got David. This is literally the scene. We've got David standing behind Saul, and he's got a sword, and he has the ability to kill Saul. And honestly, fast forward his leadership, because once he's out, David's in. But David says this, that I will not raise my hand against God's anointed. That David says, you know what? I really want to be the leader. I think I'm ready now. I'd love to be it. But he says, you know what? Saul is my leader. God has placed him above me. Therefore, I will understand the season that I'm in. That I am in a season of following, and that if I don't learn how to do this season well, I won't have what it takes to do the next season well. If I don't learn what it takes to be a good follower, I'll never have what it takes to be a good leader. And David has that opportunity, and he does nothing. Cuts a little piece of his cloak off, but does not dethrone Saul, because he wanted God to be proud of his ability to follow. Is God proud of your ability to follow? Is God proud of the way that you respect your leaders? Or does God simply, James 4:6, does he oppose the proud? But I encourage you, don't be a proud leader. Be someone who's humble. Be someone who understands that the greatest leaders make even better followers. Hope today has been an encouragement to you. I love every single one of you. If you guys are new, we do this every single Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern, learning life and leadership, just sharing a little bit of leadership tips that I think will really be an encouragement to you, be a blessing to you. Why do I do this? Because you matter. Why do I take the time off stream to prepare these notes, prepare these teachings, all the research that goes involved? Why? Because I believe in you. Because I believe that you have what it takes to be a great leader. And I want to do my best to encourage you, to empower you, and to pull that potential out of you, to help you achieve what Jesus says. that he came to give life and life to the fullest. There's more to you than you think. God wants to do something amazing in your life, and I promise you that every single one of us can benefit from becoming a great leader to change the world around us. I love you guys so much. You guys are incredible.